Starts and sits for half of the Week 4 slate right now on Fantasy Football Today Express. It is Adam and Heath, and here we go. We're going to go in reverse order of how we did it on the big show. Denver at the Jets. Who you starting in this one?
Brees Hall. He's a good start. Garrett Wilson is a mid wide receiver 2. Aaron Rodgers is a mid QB 2. Tyler Conklin is a mid tight end 2. Javonte over Sutton as a PPR flex, but I really don't want to. Lazard is a good number 3 wide receiver.
All right, so Garrett Wilson's the tough call here. Would you start Javonte or Garrett Wilson?
Garrett Wilson easily.
Would you start Najee Harris or Garrett
I would
Wilson?
go Garrett Wilson, but I'm also lower than consensus on Najee.
All right, you're higher than consensus on Garrett Wilson. So what's your reasoning?
I think he will move around enough that he can get free from Surtain on occasion. Decent chance to get into the end zone. And like half of our top 20 wide receivers are hurt. So I'm not going to sit the guy with as much talent as he has.
All right. New England is at San Francisco. Who are your starts in this one?
So you start Jordan Mason, of course. I'm starting Brandon Ayuk. Juwan Jennings is a good number 3 wide receiver. If Kittle comes back, we'll start him. Hunter Henry's a borderline tight end 1. Ramondre Stevenson's a borderline RB2. Brock Purdy's a high-end QB2, and I'm fine if you're starting him as a top 12 guy.
And what changes if Kittle plays for Jennings and for everyone, I guess?
Jennings would be wide receiver 30, and we would see Ayuk around wide receiver 20. So that downgrade on those guys.
Cleveland, let's go. Kansas City at the Chargers. What do you think about the running backs in this game?
They're both low-end number 2s or high-end flexes. I prefer Dobbins slightly over Steele. Kareem Hunt adds a little bit of downside for Carson Steele, but probably doesn't matter all that much. And like you're starting Patrick Mahomes as a mid-range QB1. Rashee Rice is the best start in the game. And Kelsey, you probably just leave in your lineup because, yeah.
Would you start Patrick Mahomes or Brock Purdy?
I would start Mahomes.
Mahomes or Justin Fields, Sam Darnold, anybody?
Mahomes over all those guys.
Okay. Cleveland's at Las Vegas. Who are the starts for you in this one?
As long as Jerome Ford plays, I'm starting him. I'm starting both Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper as top 20 guys. You start Brock Bowers, and if David Njoku comes back, you start him as well. White and Madison are both flexes at best, and as are the rest of the wide receivers.
So if Ford does play, he missed practice on Wednesday. He's got such an incredible matchup here. The Raiders have been terrible against running backs. Would he be a better option than Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper?
I mean, they're all, I think, top 16 at their position. So I would hope that I could just start all 3 of them. But I'd probably go Ford in half and non-PPR and the receivers in full.
Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Garrett Wilson. Who's your highest ranked?
Adams, then Cooper, then Wilson.
All right. We got Pittsburgh at the Colts. Who are the starts in this one, Heath?
You're starting Jonathan Taylor. That might be the only must-start player in the whole game. Anthony Richardson's a low-end QB1 just because of his upside. Fields is a high-end QB2, but just because of his upside. Najee's a borderline RB2. I prefer him as a flex. Pickens is a borderline wide receiver 2. I think he's really a high upside wide receiver 3 every week, but this is a good matchup, so hopefully he gets into the end zone. And if you have to start Pat Freiermuth, that's fine.
We got 3 games left. We'll get to them after this break, and we'll answer some of your questions after that. We'll be right back. Jacksonville at Houston. Break it down.
I am starting Travis Etienne. I'm starting Nico Collins. I'm probably starting Stephon Diggs as a wide receiver 2. I like Brian Thomas over Christian Kirk, but they're number 3s or flexes. If Evan Ingram came back, you would start him. If he doesn't, Brenton Strange is a fine fill-in. I don't know if I forgot anybody. Start Travis Etienne.
Okay. Tennessee's at Miami. Any good starts in this one?
There's probably not any good starts, but you're like Tyreek Hill's still in my top 20 wide receivers. You're probably starting him. Tony Pollard is a top 20 running back. Devon Achane is a top 12 running back. I'm starting him. I don't want to start Waddle. Ridley over Hopkins, but again, Ridley's a boom bust wide receiver 3.
And finally, Buffalo at Baltimore.
Start almost everybody. The QBs, the RBs, Zay Flowers, probably still Dalton Kincaid and Mark Andrews, because what else are you going to do? And Khalil Shakir is a boom bust flex.
Khalil Shakir or George Pickens?
Pickens.
Khalil Shakir or a Jaguars wide receiver?
I would go Thomas, Shakir, Kirk.
Okay. To the questions from the chat. Start 3, Brian Robinson, Deontay Johnson, DK Metcalf, Devontae Adams.
So I'm definitely starting Deontay Johnson, and I'm starting DK Metcalf. Robinson and non and half PPR, Adams and full.
Okay. Start 3, Chris Godwin, Jamar Chase, Jawan Jennings, Terry McLaurin, Quentin. Why don't we just do this? Start 1, Jennings, McLaurin, Quentin Johnston, and Drake London.
So that's going to come down between Jennings and London, and they are back-to-back and 0.08 apart in my projections, so maybe just flip a coin. Definitely London if Kittle is back. I'll go London either way.
Okay. From the Pitbull 2025. Flex, half PPR, ETN, Pickens, Hubbard, or Higgins?
I've got ETN and Hubbard basically back-to-back. I slightly prefer ETN.
Cooper, Xavier Worthy, Jaden Reed, Mike Evans, start 2.
I am definitely starting Amari Cooper, and I'm going right back to Mike Evans.
If you're starting Shakir, I'm sorry, but your team sucks and you ain't winning this year.
Fair.
No, wrong. Come on. Look who's injured right now. You know, you have to start these guys sometimes. Pick 2, Mike Evans, George Pickens, Chris Olave.
Olave and Evans are starting.
Stroud or Richardson rest of season?
I think you have to go CJ Stroud, but it does seem like Anthony Richardson's disappointing start is getting a lot more talk than CJ Stroud's disappointing start.
Brian Thomas, Tank Dell, Jerome Ford, or Khalil Shakir in half PPR? Brian Thomas, Tank Dell, Jerome Ford, Shakir.
Ford and Thomas.
Najee or Rashad White?
On full PPR, I still have White.
Half PPR, ETN, Brian Robinson, or Jamison Williams?
ETN.
And a few more here. Cowboys DST tonight or Titans DST Monday?
I like both of them, but I have Dallas's DST higher.
Start 2 of these 3. ETN, Pollard, Chubbard.
I would sit Pollard.
And that is going to do it for today's show. Thank you to Heath. Thank you to all of you for watching and listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow on FFT Express.